I never believed in ghosts. I mean, who does, right? We all hear the stories, but they're just that, stories. At least that's what I thought, until that night. It was a regular evening. I was alone at home, sitting in the living room, mindlessly scrolling through my phone. The kind of night where everything feels normal, nothing out of the ordinary. But then something happened. I live in an old building, one of those places that has a history, though I never bothered to ask about it. It's the kind of place you walk through and feel like it has a story to tell, but it's too quiet to ever be sure. My apartment, the top one, is decent but a little rundown. The walls are thin, the wooden floors creak under the slightest movement, and the windows have a view of the city's skyline. A place where nothing ever really feels peaceful, but nothing ever feels dangerous either. Until that night. It started around 11 p.m., right when I was about to head to bed. I heard it, a soft tapping. It wasn't loud at first, almost like a faint knock. At first I ignored it. Could have been the wind, right? But then it came again, just a little louder this time. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. My body went cold. I wasn't used to hearing things like that in my apartment. Not at this time of night. Slowly I got up from the couch and walked towards the source of the sound. I was sure it was coming from the terrace. The door to the terrace is always locked, though. I had checked it just a few hours before. Still, my feet dragged me towards it, my curiosity getting the better of me. I reached the door and placed my hand on the cold, metal handle. There was no sound now. Just silence. I shook my head, trying to brush it off. I had to be imagining things. I opened the door, the old hinges creaking as I did. The wind hit me like a slap in the face, cold, biting. Nothing unusual. The terrace was empty as it always was, just a few potted plants lined up against the railing. But then I saw it. Something was out of place. One of the chairs, a wooden one that I never used, was turned over, facing the far corner of the terrace. I frowned. It wasn't like that when I left earlier. I didn't even remember putting the chair there at all. My heart skipped a beat as I stepped forward, my feet feeling heavier with every step. And then I saw it. The air in front of me seemed to distort, as if it was bending and shifting, like a heat wave you see on a summer day. But it wasn't summer. It wasn't hot. It was freezing, and that air wasn't natural. I blinked, trying to convince myself it was just the wind or maybe the tiredness setting in. But no. The distortion moved like a shape slowly taking form. At first it was just a blur, a figure. Tall with broad shoulders. But the outline wasn't clear. It was like staring at something through a fogged-up window. And then, it came into focus. I could see the face now. Hollow eyes. A mouth that seemed to stretch unnaturally wide, revealing a black void. And that smile, it was wrong. Twisted. The face seemed to melt in and out of view, flickering like a broken TV screen. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. My heart pounded in my chest, the sound of it deafening in my ears. The figure didn't speak, but I felt something cold and deep. A presence like a weight on my chest. It was as if I could hear it in my mind, like a whisper that didn't come from anywhere. You shouldn't have come out here. The words echoed through me, but they weren't said aloud. They were inside my head, invasive, cold, and piercing. I wanted to run. I needed to run. But my legs wouldn't respond. I was frozen, trapped in the grip of whatever this thing was. I tried to move, but my body felt like stone. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. The figure took a step forward, the air around it shimmering with unnatural cold. I was suffocating. The cold, the silence. It was suffocating. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call out for help. But nothing came out. My voice was gone, stolen by the dread that gripped me. The figure smiled again, that sickening, unnatural grin, and in a flash it moved closer. I could feel its presence next to me, as though it was standing right behind me, whispering in my ear. "You'll never be alone again," it whispered. "You invited me in." And with that it was gone. Just like that. One moment it was there, and the next, nothing. The air was still, the terrace empty. But the chill didn't go away. My body was trembling, my hands shaking as I slowly backed away, my eyes glued to the spot where the figure had stood. I slammed the door shut and locked it, as though that would protect me from whatever I had just seen. I backed into the living room, sitting on the floor, not daring to move. It's been days now since that night, but I can still feel it, that presence. The air in the apartment feels different now. Heavier. Like something is watching me, waiting. And every time I step near that terrace door, I feel it again, the cold, the pressure, the silence. I don't know what it was. I don't know why it came. But one thing's for sure, I'm never stepping out onto that terrace again. So, if you're listening to this and you're alone, think twice before you open that door. Because sometimes curiosity doesn't just kill the cat. It welcomes something far worse.